Welcome to a conversation with A. Lee Brown. Not an interview, not a podcast, a dialogue between a writer and the voice that helps him think. It began in Dublin at the International Bar, where I stood beneath a Mad Monkey backdrop and read A Modest Proposal 2025, Eat the Young, a satire in the spirit of Jonathan Swift and a resurrection of voice for a 65-year-old journalist who thought he'd said everything worth saying. Thank you, Dublin, for laughter and love, for the brilliance of an audience that listened with open hearts. To Galway and to Nate Fury, who sang my words of love. To Jonathan Swift, who whispered to my soul beneath the arches of St. Patrick's. And to the raven-haired lass who made the journey real. Some days this conversation may be with a crowd. Some days it may be just me and my AI friend Bob. Spell his name backwards, he doesn't mind. This isn't a blog or a diary. It's a living narrative, and sometimes a daily dialogue between memory and possibility. An experiment in empathy, precision, and play. We honor truth believers disguised as jesters. Swift, Twain, Faulkner, Hemingway, Thompson. We ask whether language itself can become a kind of sacrament in the digital age. And we try every day to remember that words, even now, can save us. So let's begin, you and me, writer and witness. A Modest Proposal, 2025, Eat the Young. A modern satire in the spirit of Jonathan Swift by A. Lee Brown. Is your glass full? Good. You'll need it. On Halloween weekend, my wife and I visited the Bram Stoker Festival outside St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. It was wonderful. Music, children in little vampire capes, mothers laughing, the smell of roasted nuts and rain. Then I stepped inside, and it was suddenly quiet, reverent. The sort of hush that stills your breath. And there, in a side alcove, I came face to face with something unexpected. The death mask of Jonathan Swift, the man who once suggested that Ireland could solve its poverty problem by eating its children. Standing there in that silence, I thought how close we've come to making those thoughts real in America. Of course, if Jonathan were alive and he heard me say that, he'd probably think, it must be the savages. And he might be right. Because back in Washington, congressmen use SNAP, the food stamp program, to bargain for power. 40 million Americans depend on it. Nearly half are children. And our leaders can't decide whether those children deserve to eat. So I thought, if the debate is over who gets fed, why not take that logic to its natural conclusion? If the young cost too much, let's eat them. We could start small, a pilot program. Children of families on SNAP. Start with toddlers, say. A modest number. Easy to track. Nutritional scientists at MIT could calculate tenderness. Maybe they'll call it Sustainable Protein Initiative 1.0. Picture the rollout. Government influencers tasting child-based cuisine. A bipartisan press conference declaring, finally, a plan that feeds itself. Parents could opt in voluntarily, a patriotic choice to serve their country. Those who refuse, the same moral pressure that sells reusable straws. Think of the savings in education. No teacher shortage if half the students are served hot. We've gamified debt, monetized sickness, privatized oxygen. All I've done is shorten the supply chain. Imagine the benefits. Climate impact, under 25 consumption plummets. Housing crisis, solved. No need for nurseries. Student loans forgiven by digestion. Even religion might approve. Take, eat, this is my body. The ad campaign writes itself. Try the future, locally sourced, homegrown. Now, I admit this may sound monstrous, but America already devours its young, just in slower, more respectable ways. We passed down $37 trillion in debt. We cut food assistance. We blame the hungry for being hungry. My late wife, Georgia, once told off a table of car dealers in Palm Springs. One said, poor people want to be poor, or they'd do something about it. Georgia didn't blink. She told them about a woman she'd hired back in Texas, the wife of a man who carved gravestones for a living. They had no dental insurance. She'd lost her front teeth, and no one would hire her. Georgia gave her a job. The pay was lousy, but it came with insurance. When the woman saved enough to fix her teeth, she got a better job and lifted her whole family. That woman didn't want to be poor. She just needed a chance. Georgia didn't say this part aloud, but she might have. It's easier to call people lazy when your own mouth is full. When I stood before Swift's death mask, I remembered his words on the wall nearby. In Ireland, we have enough religion to make us hate, but not enough to make us love. And I thought, in America, we have enough wealth to make us cruel, but not enough heart to make us wise. Maybe the feast has already begun. Maybe our young were eaten long ago, devoured by loans, screens, and the quiet indifference of grown-ups too tired to care. If so, what's left to eat but the idea of a future itself? Every empire dies the same way, not from famine, but from forgetting to feed its future. Bon appetit. Thank you for listening to this, a conversation by A. Lee Brown.